Hey, welcome to Left Night with Kendra Dawsey. And now, here's your host, Kendra Dawsey.
Hi. Hello. How are
Oh,
you doing tonight, Zach?
oh, just peachy. Yourself?
Yeah, I am also doing just peachy. Everything's going great. I am not tired. There are no bags under my eyes. Everything is great.
Yes. I also definitely got as much sleep last night as I would have liked to.
Yes, same. That's just what we're doing in 2021. We're just like lighting some candles, meditating, and our lives are perfect. There's no external circumstances that would make my life worse right now, obviously.
But let's pretend for a second maybe something was bugging you. What do you think that would be? What would be on your mind?
What would be on my mind? You know what? I would say what's on my mind this week is neoliberalism. So let's say you are getting into a Twitter argument and wet ass pussy 42069 calls you a neoliberal shill. What exactly does that mean? Well, let's talk about it together. Tonight, Left Night is going to try to define neoliberalism. So, neoliberalism originated as an economic term associated with free market capitalism, which now hedge fund managers are mad at since too many people bought GameStop stock. It's also been associated with giving more public responsibilities to the private sector to reduce government spending. The term came into popular use in the 1980s in connection to Big Daddy Pinochet's economic reforms in Chile. When I say Big Daddy Pinochet, I mean Augusto Pinochet, the guy that the U.S. helped put into power during a coup. But although neoliberalism is an economic term, it has been increasingly used in connection to political ideas that excuse or support these economic policies. So that's stuff like someone saying that we should really focus on supporting small business owners while also cutting benefits for working class people like food stamps or healthcare. Of course, neoliberalism isn't exclusive to one political party in the United States. Both Republicans and Democrats have used this rhetoric to chip away at the working class here in the good old US of A. And nowadays, when I think of neoliberal shill, it kind of has a ring of, wouldn't you feel good having a girl boss exploiting you to it? What about you, Zach? When you think of neoliberal shill, what do you think of?
Yeah, I mean, neoliberalism is just sort of this hopeless mart, like you associate neoliberalism particularly like with the 1970s and on. That's sort of what we consider like the age of neoliberalism. And like I just like I've made no small point that I think that America has always been bad. But if you look at somebody like a particularly bad person like Lyndon Johnson in the 60s, had this idea of like the Great Society, about where it would be like one with strong safety nets, and like there was a meaning of what we did and how we helped each other. And I have a tremendous amount of problems with things that Lyndon Johnson did, but at least he had sort of a vision for what we could build as a group. And then everything after that is just sort of, no, the market, all we can do is let the markets decide how things are going to go. There's no, it's almost gauche to have a political vision of the future under neoliberalism and not just be washing away in the tides of the markets and just going as these sort of larger economic forces go. And we can like pinch and poke them here or there to make sure that they stay within a boundary, but we're ultimately at their mercy rather than them being at the mercy of us.
Yes, definitely. Yeah. That's like basically what it is. I like that you brought up like Lyndon Johnson. Obviously US imperialist state has been, I think like, was it under Lyndon Johnson where we started like sending troops to Vietnam, or like, I might be wrong on that political.
No, well, he escalated Vietnam.
Okay.
The things that we think of as sort of the like use of Agent Orange and just massive napalm strikes and stuff like that. That's the real Lyndon Johnson stuff.
Okay, all right. I knew he had something to do with Vietnam from my AP US history class so long ago. But I do think it's interesting that in previous times in American history, there has been more of an idea of like, oh, it's fine for the government to help people, right?
Mm-hmm.
Of course, not like, not complexity of capitalism is still there. The US still was imperialist power who exploited other nations and stuff. Right. And it did not seem like people were so afraid of the idea of the government helping people, right? Mm-hmm. But we do see a shift.
The government helping certain people. I mean,
you're also right.
Which is certainly a caveat that you cannot. But it is interesting.
You're very right.
Those do line up. Is that they've sort of painted the idea that neoliberalism and like an age of tolerance, because it is the post-60s society, they have tried to make it like, oh yeah, that was the way we function as a society one way before, and now that we're less racist, we need more markets. It's some sort of a trade-off that we had to make.
Yeah, like now that we're less racist, we could just let economics do whatever.
Right.
And like obviously it didn't start with Reagan, but I think a lot of the things that he did is kind of we're still seeing effects of now, just cutting government programs, cutting welfare programs that help people, and then supporting big business. So neoliberalism, not a fan. Usually, I think recently when people are called neoliberal shills, there is a little bit of the idea of like, oh, we're going to have a diverse oppressor ring to it. I know that's not explicitly, folded into the economics of neoliberalism, but I think now there is a lot of the politicians will say things to excuse kind of the current conditions, right? Or say it's fine. So
right.
I think,
I was gonna say that some for whatever, I think just because of sort of who makes up the different sort of political ideology groups in America, neoliberalism is often sort of conflated with cynical identity politics in America, but it's weird because nobody really is a neoliberal. Only a handful of actually freakish people call themselves neoliberals, but it's this sort of umbrella ideology in which all the other ideologies have sort of been confined. Other than your explicitly socialist or anarchist ideologies, we pretty much confined ourselves to parameters of almost entirely neoliberal. So it's at on one level ill-defined, but also all-encompassing.
Yes, that is what's interesting about it. So obviously it is economics, but it also does represent a lot of so we have some news from Kit Falbo. First, they say economics are controlled by institutions. I hear there is racism too. Fun fact that I think I learned this week: economics, people just decide it, and if the people in power decide it, they're probably going to be racist, and it's probably going to work out in a racist way. I just putting it out there. Don't know if there's been critiques of capitalism from a anti-racist lens before, but just throwing it out there. And there are lots of neoliberals on Reddit. Reddit has a lot of different people. Of course.
I mean, when I say I've never met a real person, if I've only seen people on Reddit do it, I assume it's not a real person thing.
Yes. It could be anyone. It could be a bot. It could be a 12-year-old girl trying to pass her time. It could be literally anyone.
Reddit also has people trying to tell you that they've gotten high off of Jenkum. That doesn't mean it's actually real.
God, Reddit has so much. I think we'll talk about Reddit a little bit more tonight, right, Zach?
I imagine they may come up again.
Yes, but before that, let's cut to this commercial break.
Hey folks, this is Zach here. I want to talk to you about today's sponsor, the Stork Market. Now, I know what you think that this is going to be about. It's like, oh, investing and shorting and making money and having financial literacy. You don't need any of that for the Stork Market. You're thinking of the stock market. The Stork Market is just a simple shop that sells you birds when you need them, or if you don't need them. Maybe you just want one. Do you know anything about leverages or derivatives or dividends? You don't have to. Do you know about what the new best stock is or what the blue chips are? It doesn't matter. All you need to know is, are long-legged birds cool? Of course, you already know the answer to that. So head over to the Stork Market today and get cranes, herons, albatross if you're a real high roller. You don't have to have any worry about the long-term investment. You already know it's a bad one. You don't need to worry about a 5-year plan. Birds don't live that long. All it is about is you finding yourself a nice avian pal and buying it wholesale from the Stork Market. And you won't have to worry about whether or not the money is going to some horrible things like the stock market always is, because birds are trustworthy. So head over to the Stork Market today and use promo code LEFTNIGHT to get 2 wings off of the bird. I mean, they'll still be on, but you don't have to pay for them. Stork Market.
Man, I'm glad we at Left Night, we're pro-bird. I'm glad we come out in support of all avian creatures.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Logan Jones says, I've heard some suspect things about waterfowl. I don't know about waterfowl. I've heard seagulls were dicks, though. That is something that is true. Apparently, seagulls will just eat other birds. So fuck seagulls, but storks, amazing.
One time, I have a very vivid memory of being a kid eating French fries on the boardwalk and in my seat, and I was like the way a kid sits like all the way up on like a seat or whatever, and a seagull just landed in the ass of the chair behind me, and then it starts flapping because now it's trapped between the back of the chair and my back, and I'm like, I didn't put you there. And so I was like 8 years old, and I will never forget that weird moment.
I think Yo Logan Jones, who may or may not be related to you, in the comments is saying, yes, this is true. I was there and it was amazing with at least 10 exclamation points.
Yeah.
So Left Night official stance, pro most birds except seagulls. Fuck seagulls.
So there are some birds that are counter-revolutionary, but
exactly.
But most birds are comrades.
Seagulls are freaking capitalist, and they should. You got to get rid of them. All right, so now we have our riff section of the week. What's been going on this week, Zach?
All right, so there's the obvious one that we're gonna have. We have to talk about this whole GameStop thing. Everything that's going on. So, which of us is gonna explain it?
I have tried to read so many articles. I have read so many articles about the GameStop stuff. I think I kind of get it. But it is my overwhelming feeling from like reading lots of materials about it is that money is fake. Money is so fake. So much of the economy, what we think things are worth, are just decided by some dudes hanging out in an office, probably like getting high off the purest cocaine. Like money is so fake. It is wild. But I could try to explain GameStop or the thing. I don't know if you want to try. I feel like I'm not financially minded.
I mean, it's basically there was a plan that a particular hedge fund had that they were going to short some stock, which is basically I only understand things in like degenerate gambling terms, so I know that
which is what the stock market is. So
right, and except that I trust bookies more than I trust brokers. So basically, it's like fading a pick. It's like you pick against you pick against the stock and hope that it goes down rather than up. And then it was just going up because a bunch of people on Reddit decided that they were going to invest in GameStop. And then because of how shorting stocks works, now this Melvin Capital, which is the dorky, I want to give them all wedgies immediately.
I know
Capital.
Every single person who works for them like got like wherever that thing is where you like put your head in the toilet and flush.
Oh, swirly, yes.
Yeah, they got swirlies, and now they're trying to screw everyone over because they got too many swirlies in middle school.
Right. So that's where we are now with it. Overall, I think it's just funny. Like it doesn't have a lot of like people have like said like you the master's tools will never dismantle the master's house and things like
Audre
that.
Lorde, what?
Yeah. Yes. So it's something that it's not a long-term answer to anything like that. Personally, the way I feel about it is similar to how I feel about it's going to be a weird comparison, but like socialists or social democrats who run for like office in the Democratic Party or like join the Democratic Party or whatever, where
that makes sense.
If what you're doing is going to undermine sort of the institution itself and make people not believe in it anymore and creates the potential to sort of unravel the system by through exposing it, then I think it's good. But also if what you're doing is just like adding to the lore of the whole thing and making like if what comes out of this is people believe, oh, remember those times those people made all that money off of the GameStop stock? Like anybody can make money from Wall Street and from investment. Then that's not good. Then that just it gives an alternative example to further enrich the existing institution in that case.
Yes.
And I fear that that's more likely what's going to happen. But there is currently a potential to expose just how arbitrary and nonsensical the whole thing is.
Yes, I definitely agree and see where you're coming from. I agree. It is funny. Of course, the stock market, like I think in a just world, I don't know if the stock market would exist. I don't know.
It sort of exists in opposition to a worker ownership.
Yes. There's that. I know I have investments through my job. I feel weird about them. But it's why I also eventually would like to whatever. Anyway, I also think it's funny. Of course, I want to see more hedge funds managers cry. It does not. Obviously, it's not like ending capitalism. If some previously broke person makes some money off of it, sure, more power to them. But it's not. Also, it probably helps that it's like GameStop and not like Coca-Cola. Like if the stock were Coca-Cola, which obviously it wouldn't be, like hedge funds wouldn't be trying to buy up Coca-Cola stock and betting that it goes down. If the stock were Coca-Cola, I'd be like, I feel like I'm funding like a death camp, maybe, I don't know, but like it's GameStop and it's like, okay, I'm funding like video game nerds, but
there is a sort of like mini reactionary part of the whole thing where it's like GameStop and Nokia and I forget what the other AMC movie theaters.
AMC.
So it's all these things that are like we talked about neoliberalism before, where like these were like institutions that have sort of rotted away, even though people still kind of like them, but the market dictated we didn't need them anymore.
Yes.
So there's this sort of reaction to it that's inherent in there that may or may not. People are going to try to decipher the sort of the political attitude but it's just BuzzFeed. It's just remember 90s kids remember type of stuff. Like more than anything else. I do think it's funny how mad or how much Elon Musk has gotten involved. and Girth Shamars just mentioned
God.
Elon Musk because
Yeah.
he's mad at I guess he hates hedge funds because they were they tried to short his stock.
Yeah.
But like at the end of the day, it's all just wild speculation, and that man has become
really
the
is.
richest person on the planet because of wild speculation.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's just like, you can wildly speculate, but only in favor of me. Don't wildly speculate against me.
Yeah, that was interesting. Elon Musk. Wish he would just shut up sometimes. I guess he's good for a laugh, but I wish he wasn't the richest man on earth. You know what I mean? Like, just be entertainment. Don't be in charge of people's livelihoods.
We don't disagree a lot on the show, but I disagree with the fact that he's entertaining.
He's entertaining to me in a way of like, sometimes I just want to feel cringe, you know? Like, I don't actually respect him.
Okay.
He gives wild tabloid headlines. And I think that is the only thing I care about. But if Elon Musk was just like some random dude in South Africa doing less rich but equally wild shit, I would be as interesting. Elon's got a real Michael Scott in season 1 vibe, probably.
Which is why they had to change him and just make Michael Scott stupid instead of weird and racist.
Yes, exactly.
Because it doesn't have the staying power.
Exactly. Yeah. But yeah, man, it is. Yeah, it's wild. I don't know what to say. Full admission, I did buy some AMC stock and also Macy's. Mm-hmm. We all love wandering around a Macy's, right? Like, that's what I miss from my childhood, just wandering around a Macy's and looking at all the bed sheets. I didn't get a wild amount.
Have you been to a mall recently? They're eerie now.
I have not, actually. I definitely have not in the past 10 months, and I would say probably not even in the past 10 years.
Right. I was going to say not in the last 10, but like in the last, like, I wait to go home sometimes to do all my Christmas shopping. So I get like once a year I go back to my childhood mall because I'm from Jersey and we're all about our malls. And every year it just looks more and more eerie, like it's like you're watching something die very slowly. Yeah.
Malls are freaking weird. But I got $10 in Macy's stock, and I think it's already like, I don't know, $8. I don't know. If I can make a little bit of money off Macy's, then sure. I know that's not very, leftist of me. But I'm not dumping all of my savings into it. I'm just like, it'd be funny if I gave $10 to Macy's. I don't know. So,
if I can quickly throw out a prediction, this whole Robin Hood thing will face no consequences.
Yeah, I know people are trying
because they've all been doing this for years. Nobody they've all been doing stuff like that, and just because Robinhood is an app that a lot of people use, it's more noticeable. But if Robinhood gets in trouble, then so many other brokers are going to think that they might get in trouble. So I would believe it that they see nothing.
It would be great if you weren't going to be right, but I feel like you're going to be right. Stocks. That's what I got to say. Stocks. Late capitalism.
Everybody, stocks.
Yeah, stocks. All right. So we are just about done with our show for the end of the day. So we will leave it to some closing remarks from Zach.
Thank you, Kendra. So, friends, we have a new president now, and even though there's both so much happening and not much changing, I'm going to use this time the same way that so many liberals have, which is to take a reprieve from the serious stuff and focus on some inconsequential bullshit. Game shows are back, okay? It's my favorite type of TV show, and they're back in a big way. It's like sports, except I'm better at it than the people on the screen. And the reason they're returning is obviously because they're cheap to make and you can do them on a big sound stage, and TV stations don't want to do something sensible like just show old reruns of Cheers, which everybody likes. so they have to keep doing constant new content. And for that reason, the cheap game shows are getting put out all the time now. And there's one very special one that is coming back from a hiatus right now, and that's The Price is Right. It's the weirdest one. It's going to be the weirdest during the quarantine because you can't like come on down and have groups of like sweaty people breathing on you, and they're visiting LA for the first time, so they're real excited. That it's going to have to change up a bit, but it's going to hurt it. But it's like that's one of the interesting things about it is that you don't have to know stuff like you have to know on other game shows. You don't have to know 19th century opera or rivers in Southeast Asia. You don't even really have to know the answers on The Price is Right, because you could just look at the other people in the audience and they're allowed to shout the answers at you, which is the only game show like that I'm aware of. You just need to trust that the audience knows how much Clorox wipes cost. So in that regard, I like it because they made it so that the common person can play. Except, in my opinion, they did it wrong. Because ostensibly, it's a show about your expertise as a smart shopper in knowing the average prices of common household goods. This type of smart shopping is a key skill of the working class. Those living paycheck to paycheck, working mothers trying to get by, the unemployed trying to stretch every dime of that measly $600 check. It's an art form that goes underappreciated by those who have never had to live close to the poverty line. Except the rules of the game totally sabotage this entire art form because they made the rules so that you have to estimate as close as the price as possible without going over. That's not how regular people budget. Your estimates always have to go over. Because if you estimate under, guess what happens? Your card gets declined, and then you have to put the Cheez-Its back on the shelf and try again. So you make sure when you're budgeting to always budget over. That's not budgeting over is a privilege of those who have means. If you have means, your budget is space for you to assume, oh, that box of rice-a-roni is $1 instead of $1.50. That's fine for you. Hell, it might not even matter. You might be able to ignore the price entirely. You might even be able to look at the recipe on the back of the box and make that fancy type of rice-a-roni that they're always suggesting. So this is the problem with The Price is Right. It paints our consumer society as one of shrewd, informed people who can correctly tell when they're being overcharged for a can of soup and know how to go to a different vendor, rather than the real society where people must scrounge to survive and pay what is asked of them because their backs are against a wall. There's no Price is Right game that considers the pricing for those who have to buy from a convenience store because there's no close grocery store, or those who have to count nickels from the couch cushions because you can't buy toothpaste with food stamps. It's an idealized version of our capitalist society where your expertise as a consumer can make you money, and if you're very lucky, you can correctly estimate the price of a wave runner, and capitalism makes you a big winner. And to be fair, it's not like other information on other game shows is more valuable. I mean, knowing Renaissance painters or Kurosawa movies, maybe we don't need the hellish game shows of dystopian novels. Maybe the ones we have where we put so much hope in an arbitrary nature of knowing things, maybe that's just bleak enough as it is. And one last thing, the cliffhangers game with the climbing the mountain, that's not how climbing a mountain works. You don't overestimate and fall off a cliff. The Swiss are not that stupid. They have all of the banks and all our money. How stupid can they be? That's all I got.
All right. Thank you so much, Zach. And thank you everyone for watching. Please stick around for Quarantine Action Wrestling and do not listen to any financial advice we may have given. Actually, we didn't give any, so do whatever you want. Thank you. Tune in next week. Have a good night.